Hello, everybody, and welcome to our third episode of BayHawks Live. My name is Michael Somrak, and I'll be your host again for the next 30 minutes. A friendly reminder, the nature of these sessions, again, is to be as interactive as possible. We encourage those in attendance to submit questions and answers into our chat, and we'll do our best to filter through those as we go through the process of this interview. For today's episode, I am joined by Erie BayHawks assistant coach Mery Andrade and Hall of Famer and current two-way player development coach for the New Orleans Pelicans, Teresa Weatherspoon. Ladies, thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
So we're going to do a quick introduction too. For those of you that don't know either Mery or Teresa, Mery spent 4 years collegiately at Old Dominion, where she reached the NCAA tournament around a 16 three times and even brought Old Dominion to a national championship appearance in the 97 season. From there, she went on to 5 seasons with the Cleveland Rockers and spent 1 season as well with the Charlotte Sting, while also spending some time playing overseas. Also for Mery, she was a Colonial Athletic Co-Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year for Old Dominion in her senior season. For Teresa Weatherspoon, she spent 8 seasons in the WNBA. She spent 7 seasons with the New York Liberty and 1 with the LA Sparks. She helped the Liberty to 3 WNBA Finals appearances. She was a 2-time WNBA Defensive Player of the Year, a 5-time WNBA All-Star. She also was an NCAA Division I champion with Louisiana Tech in 1988, where she also went to coach there for 6 seasons. She was enshrined in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame in 2010, and again is now currently one of the two-way player development coaches for the Erie BayHawks. Again, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Mike.
We're going to start off the interview just with some respective role questions. So first off, Mery, we'll start with you. Just kind of give us an understanding as to what exactly your role is with the Erie BayHawks and what all you contribute to the team in your first season with the team.
First of all, thank you so much for the invite. It's always a pleasure being around the Erie BayHawks family. And answer to your question, as an assistant coach with the Erie BayHawks, our responsibilities are developing players. I mean, this is a league where you get players that want to play in the next level. So the way we do it in our team, Coach Panone divide the players to the assistant coaches, and the two-way players have the two-way coaches. So is our responsibility work in the growth of the players on and off the court, prepare practice, assist the head coach. My role was also help develop the growth of the players off the court. That meaning simple stuff like paying bills, professional development, what's coming after the playing career. So we all, in the G League is a grind, so we all pitch in on the court and off the court.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Teresa, we'll go over to you now with what exactly all encompasses the role of being a two-way player development coach with the Pelicans.
Well, it's so much that's involved in being a two-way or just being a PD coach, because you have to understand each player. It's not that you're just dialed in on one player. You have to be focused in on each player and what it is that they're asked to be basically great at. Being a two-way developing player coach is you're focused in on making sure that those two players are dialed in on what's asked of them to reach that next level. Because players' mind, they know exactly what they can do. They know they're great at this, they're great at that. But what is it that the team is asking of you? And for you to take that role, embrace that role, and become great in the role. And that's really my job, is to make sure that they understand the role, embrace the role, and then carry themselves into the next level. But I do get an opportunity to be a part of every player, understand what is necessary for them within that season to be productive in the season or with the team that they're playing for, which is the Pelicans and their system. I think that's the most important thing, is to understand the system and for them to understand their role within the system. So that's exactly what I do, and I love what I do. I think Mery mentioned something that's so valuable. It's the importance of what you bring with players. And as a coach, with Mery doing what she does, it can be very difficult, especially with the G League side of it all, because it is a grind. It's a major grind. To make sure the guys understand what the grind is to get to the next level. And I think that's the one thing that we focus on the most is making sure that they're prepared for the grind. Because if you're not prepared for the grind, it's going to be a very long, hard season for you, and very hard for us to be able to get across to you the importance of the grind.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I don't know from personal experience, but I'm sure it's got to be a big grind for some of these guys trying to work their way from college, where some of these guys were the #1 player, to go into the G League, to trying to build their way into that role in the NBA. And not only from the player side, but also from your side. What was the biggest takeaway you had from this season being a player development coach?
The one thing that I look for the most as a PD coach is results. I think that's the one thing I look for the most, and that's most gratifying, is to see the results. The thing that I like the most is the mindset of these players and what they brought every single day, because it can be very difficult. And I'm speaking on the G League side. It can be very difficult at times of you have in your mind that I want that call up too. I want to be a part of that team too. But what I like the most is every day they'll step back into the gym and get themselves prepared and ready to go. Even though they want that call up, they think they deserve that call up, they still understand that they're still working that's necessary. There's still more to be put in. There's still more of a grind that's even truly more so necessary than what you might have thought from the very beginning. But I do enjoy watching the mindset of each player and how they can come back every day and give something a little bit more or a little different, or not be satisfied with the day that they had before and bring something different in the day that they have. And also watching people grow as leaders. I got an opportunity to see a lot of players grow into being leaders. That's a hard role to step into, to be leaders. And I think that was one thing that was very gratifying for me as well, to watch some of these players that you try to help to develop, and watch them develop mentally more so than physically, and become great leaders, to have people to follow their leadership.
Yeah, that really is, that's awesome to see from that end, I'm sure. And Mery, also being an assistant coach, starting from year one as the Pelicans affiliate, trying to build the roster, and also you noticed not a little bit of a slow start, but also towards the end of the season, you noticed the team was really starting to click, really starting to mesh. Brought out a couple wins. What was the biggest takeaway on your end from the beginning of the season to when the season ended, noticing whether it was subtle improvements, whether it was something on your end that you had a big takeaway? What did you really notice the most or take away the most from this first season?
Well, as a first season, I think our idea as a team and organization was build a winning culture, and that doesn't come overnight. You have to work for it. You have to set goals, and we knew that our team was young. We knew that we will need adjustment, and like you said, we had a slow start, but that we expect that. Of course, the earlier the growth comes, the better it is. But we knew that, and I think that helps when you know that, because like T said before, every day you go to practice and okay, today is the day we're going to get better. Today's the game we're going to go better, and now allowing the results of a game change that. So for me personally, I had situations that, sometimes I'm a competitor. I'm a competitor, and I think our whole staff and organization and players are competitors. So of course the loss is going to kind of shake you a little bit, but having that in mind and not allowing that to affect what you want to do, the growth you want to have, and having people like sometimes people from outside, they see it better. And I had like 2 or 3 situations that I had reps come into me and tell me, oh my gosh, your team looks like a totally different team. They playing so good. They playing together like towards the end of the season. So I think that's what we want. Like I think when T talks about results is not always translated in winners and losses, but growth. Like enjoying the process, enjoying the growth of our players, enjoying the growth of our culture, because we're going to have a next year, and next year we did the right things. We follow the game plan. So now, sooner or later, we're going to get our results on what we work on all year. So first year under the belt, looking forward for second year.
And yeah, I mean, that sounds right. You really can't, quantify or qualify how a team is progressing based just off of wins and losses. There's so much that goes into that for a team. And it is really great to see that there was a lot of progression as the season went on. We have a message in the chat for both of you. Mery, we'll start with you since we just finished off the last question. But what are you as a coach doing for your personal development during this pandemic? What have you really been trying to hone in on your end?
Look, my day starts at 6:30 because I need to get a workout in, and then after that is all professional development. I watch a lot of clinics. I want to know. I'm like a sponge right now. I want to know what the coaches are doing in the NBA. I want to know what the coaches are doing overseas, and then try to steal what I think can help our team next year. So it has been amazing. I know in times like this, it's not easy to focus on the positives, but that's the kind of person I am. So every time I see a clinic, and Coach Pannone is keeping us very informed about what kind of clinics are going around, and I try to watch as much as possible to develop, to player development, to X's and O's, even to philosophies, like offensive philosophies, defensive philosophies, and then try to implement that, how that could help our team next year. So I think I'm enjoying the process right now.
That's great to hear, and same on your end, Teaspoon. What are you doing as well on your end for some personal development during everything that's going on right now?
I've been zoomed in. Zoomed in, man. I tell you, anything that's on that we feel like we can watch. These great coaches have truly been giving great clinics, and I mean, I've been on a lot of them with Mery. We've been on a lot of them together, just really picking things from the brains of people who've been doing this for so long. And then you hear some things, you're like, man, I didn't even think of that. So you kind of trying to gain more knowledge, always gaining more knowledge, never having a moment where you think that you're okay. No, every day we're filling our vessel, finding ways to fill our vessel by being zoomed in on any clinic that we can be a part of. And then on another note is having constant conversation with our own, constant conversation of what is it that we can get better with? What is it that we can do to change a few things to help our players remain confident or become get into a comfort zone where they feel comfortable with the things that we're asking of them. So we're having constant conversation of how can we get better as a team, and what are some of the things that we can add to make them feel better and more comfortable about the system in which we're running. So those things have been valuable. It's constant conversation, constantly zoomed in on the great minds, so you can take some things, like Mery said, it's about stealing things and put it into your book. Put it into what you think can make our team better. And that's what we're doing. And it's been a tremendous joy. You're always finding positive settings and things that might be so negative, especially in the world that we're living in right now. We're finding things to gather together and still gain knowledge and get better at this game.
And that really is awesome to hear. And coming from both of your backgrounds also, being star collegiate players playing at the WNBA level, there has to be some sort of relatability and comparison to know how to work not only with these players, but also with these coaches, and try and take what you've learned from your careers and instill that moving forward. And speaking about your playing careers, we'll segue from there. Both of you were WNBA players for just a couple seasons, nothing too crazy. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, you guys were both part of some really awesome teams in the early thousands. Mery with the Cleveland Rockers, and Teaspoon with the Liberty for 7 seasons as well. I know you guys were part of 2 of the top teams in the East. You guys even went against each other in the WNBA Eastern Conference Finals in 2000. So I guess we'll Teaspoon, we'll start with you. Any just like big game takeaways, any stuff going against the Rockers, or just some experience that you had over the seasons in the WNBA?
Yeah, you just touched a nerve already. You speak of the Cleveland Rockers, the first thing you think about, that dang song would make you so mad. Like, they turn that off, please. But I tell you, they were our freaking Achilles heel. They were so tough, and Mary's on the other end, and I'll speak about Mery, because when you talk about toughness, everybody knew you. Oh God, here comes Mery. It was what we would say. She's all over you. She's in your shorts. She's gonna make you feel like you're gonna dream about me. She was just that hard-nosed player that's gonna give you every single thing that she had every single night. And Cleveland was just a well-built basketball team, a well-oiled machine. When I tell you, it was some knockdown dragouts that we had. And at the end, you're like, man, I'm here. Can I come out of this locker room right now? But we had some real amazing games that have been played, and I think the fans got a great opportunity to see 2 teams who were not going to give up, 2 teams who gave their all, 2 teams who were truly exciting to watch play, and they were ready to come back the next night to watch us play again, especially in the playoffs. It was like, and it wasn't like the coaches were going to go and change things. No, this is what we do. Is what we do best. May the better team win. And when I tell you, they were some great games, but they were, at the end of the games, we were worn. Both teams had to just be truly worn out, because you had to be on point offensively, on point defensively, almost like had to have a flawless basketball game. It was almost like whoever does not turn this ball over the most is going to win. Yeah. We were both great defensive basketball teams, both teams. So it's going to be hard to score. It's going to be very hard to score. But it was like, who was going to be the toughest down the stretch? Who was going to protect the basketball down the stretch? Who was going to get the ball to the right people down the stretch? Who was going to get that defensive stop down the stretch? It was all those things that made it exciting to play the game. It was always exciting to go against the Cleveland Rockers. That freaking rock song, and if they won, oh man, you go back. That song came on so loud, and it was a great team to play against, great times to play, and it was about building our league for us. Every time we stepped out there, it was bigger than us. We understood the magnitude of every game we played, and that's the beauty of it, is we wanted to make sure that league lasted for the next young lady to come.
That's awesome. I love to hear that one of the motivational factors for winning was to not hear the Cleveland Rockers song.
You know what? Cleveland rocks. Cleveland rocks. Cleveland rocks.
Mery, we'll listen to your side of it as well too. We got to hear about some stuff from your playing time in the with the Rockers, from again being one of the top 2 teams in the East to going up against Teaspoon in the Liberty for all those playoff matches, and even just regular season games that you went up against each other.
Man, we're talking about 2000. That was my second year in the league, so pretty much fresh out of college, and I go against like this icons of basketball, like players that play for the national team, players that were professional for 15 years. It was crazy. And I take a lot of pride on my defense. And when we played the New York Liberty, there was someone on the other side that was considered the best defender. So I took it personal. And that's one thing, side note right here. In our days, right now, when the guys play, before the game, they go, hey, what's up, hugging and blah, blah. My days against Teaspoon, no, it was personal. I'll be like, oh, you think you're the best defender? I'll show you what the best defender is. Okay, so for me to get ready to play the Liberty, it was not just knowing what my team wanted to do. Like, I knew the New York Liberty, like, I played there. As I said, I pride of, okay, I know she's going to make that pass. Oh, I know. And she was trying to trick you, look at one side to make, I was like, I'm not going for that. And she still got me though. But it was just an intensity, not just physically, but mentally, and preparedness to play each other. And we knew like every year it was going to be, and like she said, is everybody knows X and O's. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the team that did the little things. And that, I think that's why both of us often were in situations of conference finals, because those two teams did the little things very well. So every time, I actually, Coach Dan sent me a DVD. Probably some of you don't even know what a DVD is. So it sent it to me.
HS.
So he sent it to me, and I had the chance to look. And guess what? One of the games, it was at the Garden, playing them. I was injured because one of the players, the post players, fell on my elbow, and I tore my my ligament. But I was like, I'm going to play. And just the awareness of in the leadership that Teaspoon had, she caught up right away. So she knew, and she was a general out there. Like, she would let you know what she wants you to do, and you better don't say anything. And I'm on the other team, and I'm looking at her just like telling and interacting with the team. And to me, it was a learning experience, because that's what I think basketball should be played like. And so I was learning. I was playing against her, but at the same time, it was a learning experience for me. You know, so she was, and she still is a role model. And I think what she said, like what we did back then, I think just keep open doors for what the league is now, and what the players are doing now. Hopefully, is going to open even more doors for players to come. So.
You know, Mery just said something too that's big, that we still carry, and that's something that you want the players to understand, that you're coaching, that you're teaching, that you're guiding, that you're motivating, cultivating, whatever you want to say, is that we were so freaking competitive. And when the game got ready to start, I don't have anything to say to you. Zero, nothing. It is all about what the game plan is to beat you, and whatever we got to do, that's what we're going to do. And it's our competitive nature, the juice that flows through us. We want to kind of put that in them, because that's the way we played it. That's the way we see the game should be played. And every day, that's our approach. That is our approach every single day. You see those little things that get you, that will give you the edge or the advantage. So you want to try to give them that. The experience that we've had is valuable, but it wasn't the experience to keep. It's the experience to give. And that's why we're so involved in coaching and loving the game, is because we have the experience to be able to give. And that's the beauty of coaching men too, is that's what they see. They don't see us as women. They see it's a great, I don't want to curse on here, but that's a great athlete who knows the game, and she can help me to be better. She's been there, she's done that. So that's what's important to us every day. And we talk about results, but it's also about the results and then seeing them apply what we're putting them through. That's the beauty of it all right there, is when you see them applying it.
Yeah. No,
I fired up over here, fired me all.
No, that's great to hear, really. And as you said, trying to mold these men into basketball players from experience that you guys have both had through your days, from college to the pros to now. There's so much experience that both of you have that you're able to exude onto these guys as they move forward, and they try and, as you mentioned, get those NBA call-ups and, you know, continue to mold and craft their game into the role they want to be. Segueing off of that as well, in terms of molding men and really trying to, you know, make people better in a general sense. The past few weeks have been very trying on our end with the death of George Floyd and just everything that has been going on. We just like to get some insight from both Teaspoon and Mery, just as everything that's been going on in our nation and what we can do as a society, just to be better, to really educate ourselves and to help move this movement forward. Teaspoon, we'll start with you.
Well, this is huge for me, and it's emotional for me. It's not something that I'm quiet on. I march. I do a lot of those things, especially when I'm in New York City, because I firmly believe that our justice system has an issue. You experience some of these things that you see, and it's unfortunate that this is a consistent act all the time. You see this, and it's unfortunate that we have to sit our young Black men and young Black girls and we have to tell them this is how you have to live. And it's almost as if we're teaching them to walk on eggshells. And that's not the way we live. We shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to have this type of conversation. But where the conversation should be is to understand that we are people too, human beings too. And what has happened is people have forgotten to be human. You have forgotten to be freaking human. And that is an issue here. So I think the thing that is so valuable is for us to be able to listen, to hear, understand someone else's pain, someone else's issue. It might not be your issue, but listen and hear it. And how can you help? How can you help? Because your silence does not help. And that's an issue. The one thing that I truly believe in as well is from early stages, what's being taught? What is being taught? Because we're born innocent as they come. We're born innocent as they come. And you can't tell me that I don't see color. Don't tell me you don't see color. I can't tell you that. I can't look at you and tell you I don't see color. That's not true. But what I do see is what I see before me is another human being who wants to live like everyone else, who wants an opportunity like everyone else. Opportunity is there for all of us, and it should not and shall not ever be taken away for any other reason because of my skin color. I always say, could you please see my skill and not my skin? And that is the difference. See my skill and don't be afraid of it. Don't be fearful of it. See purpose in it. If you see purpose in my skill and don't fear my skin, there may be a time where we can work together. Because that's what it all about, is being together, working together, understanding each other. Because I have value as well as everybody else has value. Black young men have value as well as everyone else has value. But why are we being devalued? It is a matter of understanding that everyone has their place, everyone has their purpose, and don't fear it. And it is very emotional for me, so I have to keep my emotions intact, but I would never close my mouth. I will always speak. I will speak for those who feel like they're voiceless. I will march for those who go through these things. We have to. So if you're quiet and you're not speaking, you're part of the problem. Always want to be a part of the solution. How do we do it? Freaking sit down and have a conversation. Don't move until that conversation, there's a solution within that conversation. I might not totally agree. You might not totally agree, but we come to some form of agreement. And that is not happening. We go from one thing to the next. We fail to realize what's happening in order to see these people looting. Do I want them to do that? Absolutely not. But what did Martin Luther King say? Riot is the language of the unheard. You want to be heard? So this is what happens, is just wanting to be heard, to be listened to. That's got to be an awful freaking feeling if you decide to put on someone else's shoes. It's got to be an awful freaking feeling is not to be heard. And to watch this consistent act of taking innocent lives for zero reason because of the skin color, that is an issue. And that is really hurtful and painful because I have brothers, I have nephews, I have cousins, I have friends. I have all of that you have to constantly say, this is the way you have to approach the situation. This is how you have to speak. That is unheard of. That is unheard of, and it shouldn't be. No one should walk on eggshells. I don't care who you are, but you should be able to walk broad with your shoulders up, knowing that I'm walking in my mission and no one's in the way of my mission. And no one's in the way of who I am as a person, as an individual who wants the same opportunity as everyone else. That's an issue. We all have to come together. We all have to have open ears, open mind, open hearts to hear. And how can you help?
Yeah, that was very well said. And I agree. I think this is important to talk about. It needs to be brought to the forefront. And it's great to hear, Teaspoon, everything that you had to say. And Mery, we'd love to get some insight on your end as well with everything that's been going on.
Like T said, these past couple of weeks have been very emotional for me because I also have brothers. I I have even more global point of view on this, because racism is not just in US. Racism is around the world. So 2 days ago, I was talking with a co-worker from my school, and she was asking me how are you doing, and I told her, I said, you know what, I'm confused. My chest gets tight because the feelings I'm having right now are very confusing to me. Growing up around racism and got used to it. So now I'm in US and I see the extent of racism and the consequences that the racism is having right now. So in my head, I'm like, well, mine wasn't that bad because I lived, I survived. And then when I catch myself thinking that way, I'm like, no, that's wrong. Because I survived, it doesn't make it right. So in everything, United States is always in a higher level in good and bad. Right now, we're going through the bad, but it's not just bad. Right now, this racism issue is the bad side of it. And United States have a pressure on their shoulders because every single country look up to United States. So what is being done right now? The protest, and I'm sorry, but like Teaspoon said, when the riot and the protest, has never been throughout the history a peaceful manifestation that would lead to change. If it was that, a lot of things would have changed already, because we keep finding ourselves every other year or even every year with the same cases, with the same results, and no change. So right now, as a hope for the new generation, we have to do something. And people are going to take responsibility, be accountable for the change you can make. You know, I have received phone calls of friends that are not African American, they are not Black, that then say, I cannot understand, but I will stand. And I think that's a starting right there. You don't have to understand to stand, because you stand and you're not standing for racism. You standing because you are human, because what they're doing is not human. You're taking a life. You're taking a mom. You're taking a dad. You're taking a brother. So this shouldn't be about color. It shouldn't be about racism. That's just being human. And until we put our feet down and try to be human, you're never going to reach the part of racism, because racism is a consequence. But if you are human, that's not, you're not going to find issues as racism and discrimination and none of that. It's just, to me, it's like common sense. So I think the action, like when you ask me, what can we do as a society? I think we have to look, it's going to be an internal search. What can I do to be a solution? Like as athletes, we have a platform, and I am so proud, never been prouder of all the athletes, football players, soccer players, basketball players, all around the world, taking a stand on what is right. When people telling that we cannot speak our minds because we are athletes, I think right now we're doing a great job at showing them wrong. So as an athlete, I will find ways of bringing people together through camps, and I'm doing that. Not just black and white, but cultures, because the more you learn, the more you open your view to the world, these problems are going to be less and less and less. So what I invite is everyone think, what can I do? Take the accountability of what can you do to be part of the solution. And there is no right answer. So it has to be a search that everyone needs to stand for.
Yeah, I appreciate the words on both of your ends. Again, I think this is really important to talk about, and if we have the platform to do it, we definitely should. And that, Mery, as you had mentioned too, as a society, not just we, but I doing the internal search and really trying to figure out how to be part of the solution. It goes back to, as Teaspoon said, it's not only just we're born pure, it's, everything that has educated people to where they are in this point in life. It's how can you take that internal search and see, okay, maybe everything that I haven't been taught isn't right. How can I internalize and figure out where I can be the solution and stop being the problem? So, and again, I really appreciate both of you taking time to talk about this issue. Again, I think it needs to be addressed, and it's great to hear from both of you as well. So thank you again. And actually, we're running a few minutes over, so we are just going to call it. But we'll do a little sign off and say thank you again to both Teaspoon and Mery for joining the session today, and hope you both have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having us.
All righty. And everybody that joined today, thank you again so much for joining, and we'll see you guys on our next episode of BayHawks Live. And stay tuned on social media for when that is to come. And we really appreciate LECOM for sponsoring this episode again of BayHawks Live. So everybody take care. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, LECOM.
Thank you.